So phew, what happened? I must be the boring one. Never mind.
Workshop upstairs is running long, so might be people still finishing that up.
Yeah, probably. Well, we'll see what we can do. So my bio's on the slide. I don't exactly know that I want to read through it for you because it's relatively easy to read through that bit, but the whole point of this session is really a bit more interactive, so you guys can just actually ask questions about my career, how I got into cyber, where I started from. A bit of a detail that's probably not on there is between the games computing and the cybersecurity, which I did here, is I spent 10 years unemployed, essentially, because of various health conditions. Oh yeah, I know, I look fine now. Trust me, I've had a lot of painkillers today. It shows. I mean, really the point is, your career has to start from somewhere. Mine started from zero after coming here. I got into Vodafone with no experience into a role that asked for 2 to 4 years of experience based solely on having the masters from work. I know, right? When Rebecca was saying, if any of you were in Rebecca's talk earlier this morning, when Rebecca was saying the master's degree does prepare you, it does if you're paying attention. Yeah, you hope, right? I don't know, are you all on the undergrad? Yeah?
Not here. Coventry's ethical
Coventry,
cybersecurity.
yeah.
So he comes from the same uni I did then. So wait, what year are you guys in?
We're both undergrads at Oxford.
Yeah?
Second year?
Okay.
I'm the first year here.
Which year are you in, if you don't know?
So,
First year, and at this
Oh,
year.
okay, sorry.
I mean, what,
Second.
Third, and first. And we are graduated. Okay.
can't do that. So, I mean,
Indeed.
okay then, so where do you guys see your careers starting? What do you think you're going to go into at the end of it? Do you think you're going to go into cyber? I largely assume you do, right?
I've no idea what I'm going to do, to be honest. I've got no idea.
No idea.
Take my
Okay.
laptop, to be honest.
Okay.
I would like to go into some sort of like SOC thing, but we're in the
SOC,
market at the moment,
okay.
and how much experience people are asking for entry-level jobs.
Um,
Just about any job I can get. To get
Well,
that
for
experience up.
SOC entry, you're probably better off looking at one of the grad schemes.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, sure, fine, grab your stuff. So for Vodafone, we have a 2-year grad scheme.
Nice.
What year are you in?
Just finished second year.
Just in a second. When you start your third, apply straight away, because we're very oversubscribed. It's a very popular scheme. I will say you're guaranteed 2 years. You're not necessarily guaranteed a job at the end of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But those 2 years will be very busy and stressful.
Okay.
You move around departments, you move around roles, you move around different parts of the business. Param and myself both work in the same team. Param's secure by design, as he said, so he's the one that makes sure that the products are ready for launch and safe for launch when they're created. I'm audit and assurance for in life, so once a product has gone into life, I'm the one sitting there making sure that nothing has changed since it was launched, because I mean, yeah, HLDs, they're great. They're very nice documents. They're, for anyone who doesn't know, that's high-level design document. They're aspirational. They're a good idea, and we hope that's what we're going to build. Often when we actually get around to building it, it changes. It doesn't happen the way the HLD is described, and Param's team can only work on what they're given during construction of the product at the time. Obviously, if it changes post-deployment, then that sits with my team. It's a lot of, so audit and assurance, you've all had a module on audit and assurance, I hope? Something to do with GRC?
I had ethics and legal frameworks.
Yeah, it's very similar. I imagine most of you will find it quite boring when you're learning about it, because it is a lot of reading of frame, like ISO 27001, right? Yeah, there you go. And there we have the class clown. Yeah, it's a bit dry, it's a bit boring, but I mean, I've just spent 2 years assessing one area of our Vodafone business area, department, and that is an awful lot of interviewing people, an awful lot of talking to people and finding out what they think their compliance with the controls is first, and then asking them for the evidence afterwards. It's always important to get the narrative first, because people think they're in compliance when they've got grand intentions. And they might be doing the right thing, but they are not necessarily meeting policy.
Do you find people shoot the messenger a bit with GRC stuff? Because if you go up to someone and say, you're massively out of compliance with this, you need to get it sorted, even though it's like...
Well, that's what you don't do.
That it's not you know that it's not you personally saying that, but I imagine people get annoyed at you about it.
Well, that's about how you interact with a team of people. That's why it's important to get the narrative first off them, right? Because you might go and interview them and they say, this is a 10-year-old product. Great. 10 years ago, we didn't do AES 256 with a ecliptic curve. 10 years ago, using MD5 on some things was perfectly acceptable. Now, you can't use it. And it might be that the various parts of our product that have been deployed are servers, CPEs, or devices that can't be changed. Manufacturer's gone away, gone bust, just outdated, and those bits of kit can't be replaced because it's mission critical. That's where you get the narrative, because they might be out of policy. But then that goes to a risk decision. How far out of policy are you? And do we think it's a threat or a problem? If it's a threat or a problem, it's still not the person I've interviewed's fault, right? I can tell them what the problem is. I can say, this is a problem. This is what you need to do to fix it. And they can take it to their management. And they can say, we need money. And ultimately, it's their management. So in your roles in cyber, it's not going to be your choice, right, to make a decision on whether something is upgraded or not upgraded. It's your role to present the facts to the business. Is this a risk? Is it not a risk? The business chooses, you don't. You just tell them, this is what will happen if you do nothing, right? Like if you don't have MFA. Yeah, you're screwed. You're going to get hit, right? If that business unit just sort of says, yeah, no, I can't afford MFA, I'm not going to do it. I will have that in writing off you. Thank you very much, and I will go away. I will record it. I will tell my management and their management can have a conversation. Whatever happens is out of my hands. I've done my bit, right? So you do get auditors that are a bit heavy-handed, but they tend not to last very long, and that's why, because you've got to be softly about it. I mean, it was a learning curve for me joining Vodafone, right? Because I had no work experience. I was like, what, 34 when I entered the workforce? It was my very first job, you know? That's a big, steep learning curve. I mean, okay, I've been here, but again, there's still a big difference. You have to learn the office politics. You have to learn who's important, how to write certain things in certain ways. If you write in an academic manner in business, you're not going to get very far.
How prepared did you feel? Did you find the university course to be very relatable to the business, or like Rebecca, or not?
Not all.
In WMG as you answer that question.
Not all of it was instantly relatable. Some of it still seemed a little esoteric and random when I started. Now, however, almost 7 years later, I would say, yeah, it all prepared me for it quite well. But I've made mistakes along the way. I've approved risks at a risk level that I shouldn't have done. Because I'm not the only one involved in that. All the risks go to a peer review. You have a team above you and around you. You have a peer review with your team, and they will say, actually, no, we don't think that's right. So, thankfully, nothing I've done has caused a problem, right? Because it's always been caught on peer review. But you have to learn those things. You don't always see the right level. I'm often down in the weeds. I don't see the strategic level of where the areas I'm assessing want to go. And I've had to take, I've taken a course on ISO 27001 to be lead implementer, lead auditor. That does teach you to be as an auditor, right? I don't know if any of you have done it or looked at it yet. Teaches you to be very hard, doesn't it? You write your scope is fixed, your timeline's fixed, you stick to it, all right? And if they fail the scope, if they fail the timeline, you failed. Simple, right? Because I'm not moving around from company to company, I'm not working for Deloitte, I'm not working for KPMG, I have to work with these people continuously forever. Well, until I leave Vodafone. If I leave Vodafone, right?
I don't like you that much.
They haven't got rid of me yet. So I have to take a different approach. You know, if someone goes on holiday for a week, that just extends the deadline by a week. And then I have to tell my management. I think one of Rebecca's points was communicating to management. It's difficult. They have their agreements with other parts of the business and other areas of management. We will deliver this at this date. You have to be able to explain it to them why that's not going to happen. And you've all heard of the grandparent test? The grandparent test. Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
It took me a second, yeah.
So you have to be able to explain your situation to someone who knows nothing at all. Take it to your 78-year-old grandparent, and if they can understand it, you've done a good job of explaining it. All right? If they can't, you need to go back to the drawing board, rewrite the explanation before you take it to management, because management don't care. It's not really true. But they don't care about the difference between AES 128, is it, or 256. It's just encryption to them, right? MD5 is just encryption to them. They'll just turn around and go, yeah, but we've got encryption. We don't care. So you've got to be able to turn around to them and say, yes, but this is the failure. This is what will happen. And what will happen is, if your encryption is broken, you'll have regulatory fines, right? You will be up in the social media and public media as being the company that didn't do it right.
The advanced role for most people coming out of uni.
Depends what you're going to.
Because you are on auditing side, but if you just go into a government...
Okay, so GRC is a big world, right? If you're doing risk management, you probably don't have the experience to understand that, because you've got to have some experience of how your business is going to work, what the business appetite is, and how they react to things. I mean, when I started, I wasn't doing risk management. I spent 2.5 years just doing assurance audits against the framework. And for those 2.5 years, all the work that I did was checked by someone else before I was allowed to do my own audits. I mean, that's probably to do with the fact that I had no experience, right? But they took me on, they gave me that experience, and they made sure that I learned from the process. It's difficult to replicate what I did. I got a D at GCSE Maths. I still have a Master's of Science, right? Yeah, I love the stunned reaction. Yeah. I got a 2-2 in my undergrad. Back in 2016-17 when I did the Master's course here, the entry only was a 2-2 minimum. I know it's gone up since, so you can't really replicate the pathway anymore. And I found I actually applied to Vodafone 4 times. I was rejected 4 times. I was rejected by the grad program twice and by experience roles twice. It was only the right manager who decided that he was going to take a chance on me that allowed me to get the role. So while you are looking for jobs or positions, you're going to find that you're going to get told no, 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 no. You're never going to get an answer why. Right? You'll never find out why they said no to you. They're just going to say, yeah, sorry, no, we don't want you. You just got to keep going, keep hammering away. I get it, it's disheartening, right, isn't it? You feel a bit, why me? But, yeah.
What would you say is the best way?
Sorry?
What would you say is the best way? Because students have heard multiple ways, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is the best for them?
Well, if you've done the Masters, I would say the best thing to do is apply for something that requires a little bit of experience. So if a role asks for 2 to 3 years experience in something, that's your Masters covered that, right? I mean, when I went for my interview at Vodafone, I was given a pen test report with several sheets, circled around of these are the findings we would like you to explain. Explain what the finding is and what you would do as a result of that finding, what would you then do? The one I remember is an XSS cross-scripting flaw. And I was asked, what would I do with a server that possesses that flaw? So, open question to, not you. Open question to everyone else. What would you do if you found a server with an XSS cross-scripting flaw on it? Would you turn the server off or disconnect it from the internet?
How business critical is this server? How business critical is this server? If it's used like...
Let's say it's not mission critical, but it is critical to keep up as much as possible. But it's not mission critical. So if it goes down, nothing will immediately fail. Does that help?
Building a picture.
I can't really without giving things away.
No, that's fair. I think...
It's a web server. It's providing a web service to the public.
Well, in that case, you'd probably do it I'd probably do it as a scheduled downtime then. So if it's public facing, you don't want...
Okay, but what are you going to do in that downtime?
But soon. I want to do it pretty soon.
Okay, and in the downtime you're going to do what? To prevent the flaw? Taking it down is great, fine, but you haven't fixed the flaw. The flaw still exists. Anyone else can chime in, by the way.
I am an outright exploiter. I don't have to fix it yet.
Okay. Well, the answers I came up with were to, like you say, do a scheduled downtime, put in some sanitation checking on what's put in the forms, and data checking on the addresses, put in geo-blocking, so that you can immediately stop the entire countries that are problems that you see the most attacks from. I'm not going to name any, but I'm sure you can imagine some countries we see more cyber attacks from than others. Yeah. I mean, if it's inside your own country, you can also do ring fencing.
There would be a lot of teams involved in this. It wouldn't just be... So that would probably be the AppSec in reporting these to somebody, right? If this normally... Depends on the team who picked it up, but the SOC would be doing the CLOC most of the time, certainly.
Yeah.
Whoever developed the thing would be the ones fixing the XSS and inputting the sanitation, most likely. And then he's just kind of praying that nothing really bad goes on.
Yeah. Those are the answers I came up with, because just turning it off doesn't fix it. And actually, after I've been in the role for a while, he actually said that's what got me the job, because he had other people come with, I can't remember what they were, but I'm just going to say certifications, and they turned around and said, turn the server off. Not helpful. So I don't know what any of your plans are afterwards, obviously, but if you're thinking of certifications, think carefully, because we've seen people turn up with CISSP, grand for 24. Not saying you can't have a CISSP at 24, but you need 5 years of verified experience for it to be certified, and you've got 3 years to get it from the exam date. CISSP is supposed to demonstrate a wealth of knowledge across the entire cyber arena. It's the crowning glory. If you turn up with it at post-university at 22, we're not going to believe you know everything. We're going to believe you've done it as a certification exam to get the cert, and to think it'll open doors for you. It will actually work against you. A lot of certifications will work against you like that.
Do you think there's much point in things like the CISSP? Because it's like, if you've got 5 years of experience, that's the thing that will get you the job anyway.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Whereas some of the other certifications seem to be more technical training programs, and you can sort of see the use in that, whereas stuff like CISSP seems to just be rubber stamping experience that you already have.
It is, yeah. Essentially, I would say it's rubber stamping experience. Get it when you're 30, after you've been in the industry for 10 years, it'll get you a pay rise. Or a role promotion. Grand. Do it then. Don't do it straight away. It's not useful. 2 of my team members have just done CISSP. They're both over 45. You know, they didn't have it beforehand. So, man, both of them probably earn more than me because they've been in the company for longer than me.
Some of it is also the company. When you are in the company for a long time, they kind of have these learning programs inside the benefits, so they expect you to do something.
Yeah.
So the search is like a way for you to get out of it quite easy.
Too.
And to get more money. So you get money for the training, and you get money for doing the training.
Vodafone will pay for the exam if you pass it.
Only if you pass it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
As you know, when coming, when I then pass next year, are you should I try and get some certifications on my CV, get like some try-and-acting courses, like does any of that actually matter, or is it just
Try and find a
to
job.
give stuff a go?
Try and find a job first.
Okay.
Once you're in the job, yes, try and do some of the more basic certs, almost like certified in cybersecurity from ISC². If you want to go down any of the ISC² routes later on, you're registered, you've got your information, you're doing the ongoing learning every year, and you can demonstrate that. That holds you in good stead. But pick your route carefully. It's easy to be subdued by the allure of a keyboard and wanting to be a pen tester and wanting to do all the fun stuff. You know where this is going, right? Pen testers are easy to find.
Yeah, I don't care for red team.
The job also gets boring.
And even to like greater or lesser extent, so auditors, good risk managers, good architects who understand security from the ground up are much harder to find. So all of our architects have taken security training. They are, of course, required to read our policies, our procedures, our processes, and comply with them. We often find things that aren't necessarily always in perfect compliance. And that's sometimes because the world is getting harder. Once upon a time, all of our products were self-hosted. We owned the servers, we owned the software, we developed them. We did the patching, we did the updates, You're now living in a world where there's a lot of cloud computing. and it's not all managed service as a product. Some of it's hybrid. So some of the products that we have in Vodafone, we have responsibility for elements of. The vendor has responsibility for elements of other parts of the product. We have to work together. From an audit perspective, and assurance perspective, what that really means, I found, is you can't go and ask third party. You go and ask Cisco, yeah, how's your encryption working? Cisco's going to go, I'm sorry, you asked me what? Exactly. They're not going to respond kindly. They're going to tell you to swan off. But you can ask them for assurances. You can say, we bought a product from you. We agreed it was a managed service for encryption. What encryption services are you providing that are in compliance with that policy and that contract? And they will probably respond with a statement that says, we are in compliance with the contract. That's fine. I can record that. I can store that safely. If anything goes wrong, it's a bit of a paper shield, but legally, they said they were doing it.
It's a legal shield, not a real protection.
Yeah. So it means it doesn't fall on us. It might still be a risk we have to be worried about, though. So it might still get entered on our risk records, on our risk registers. But we can't do much about it except accept that risk, really. We can monitor it. We can advise that it be, or ask nicely for Cisco to do something about it, if they would be willing. And Cisco can turn around and say, yeah, sure, we'll charge you X amount of money for do this. And then that's a business decision. Do we pay that money? Do we not? Where is the risk profile lying? Is it a high risk? Is it a low risk? It's an open-ended question. It's a bit like asking, I got asked once on one of the induction talks I do here for the MSc students in October. If you get a piece of evidence, how do you judge that evidence to be worthy? How long is a piece of string? You have to read the evidence. Obviously, if it's not in compliance with your policies, straight away it's not. It's not in policy. It's not in compliance. But if policy asks for solution A and products are provided solution B, however, is that useful? It's up to you to find out. So normally, in those circumstances, I would work with Param's team, the Secure by Design team, and I'd turn around and say, look, I know they said they were going to do A, B, C, D, E, but they're actually done X, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3. Now, they're completely different things, but they do provide the same end result. Are you happy with column B? And Param's team will probably do an assessment. They would look into the technical details, and they would turn around to me and say, yes, okay. In which case, fine, great, I've got the evidence. Don't care. You know, I can move on to the next control. Whatever role you end up in, I would say, do know your control frameworks, especially ISO 27001, NIST 853. They're changing and more laws are coming in. Yeah, it's stressful. It's really... Like Rebecca said, you're always learning. In my case, I'm always learning laws, regulations, and policies. A lot of the technology hasn't changed since I did my undergrad degree. A lot of it, once you get right down to the bare elements, a lot of that technology hasn't actually changed. So, I mean, I do try to keep up to date with technology changes, but that comes behind the laws, the policies, the procedures, because that's what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis all the time. Like AI, I'm behind on AI, I know I am.
So are the laws.
It's, yeah, so many, yeah. How do you keep up with something that's constantly evolving and changing anyway, right?
I read something that most AIs are actually out of compliance.
Sorry?
Most AIs are out of compliance. If people were into the nitty-gritty, most of them are out of compliance with all this.
Yeah.
It's also very hard to regulate something like
It's very, yeah.
an omnipotent robot.
Well, But as I was speaking to you on the break, to tell you exactly the advice, because Rebecca covered a lot of it. Network, right? I've seen at least 5 different people here today that, oh yeah, I know from being here, right? They weren't necessarily in my academic year. They were years ahead of me, years below me. Still know them, right? World is really, really small. So whatever your actions are, do think about them carefully. And I'm being a bit undirected. I was hoping there'd be a bit more few more people would ask a few more questions. But I mean, if there's anything you want to ask me, like I've worked for Vodafone for like 7 years now. It's all in GRC, it's all in audit and assurance. I have done some like incident management from time to time. I've also been involved in like supplier security onboarding. I've done other things as and around like some security awareness with the teams that I used to work with.
Sorry, I missed it. Did you go straight from your MSc straight into your role at Vodafone?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I applied 4 times, I was rejected 4 times. I just kept applying because
And you were just applying that whole time?
there were always different roles. So twice from a graduate scheme and twice from experience roles. Well, all I landed was a role that asked for 2 to 4 years of experience. I had. But they took me on anyway, and it's worked out to be good for them. You will land a role, you will land a place. You're not going to go nowhere. Cyber is hiring quite well, but you need to know what you're talking about. Myself, Param, Sushi, we can sit there in Vodafone, we can talk about everything as much as we like without having to worry about who's listening. And sorry guys, but you're not Vodafone employees, we can't tell you all the details. And it's obvious that when we're out of our depth, we're out of our depth, because Param will notice that I'm out of my depth on some things, and then he'll give me links and suggestions of what to read and what I should look into. If you go into an interview and you don't know something, don't blag it. Don't even be tempted to say, yeah, that's fine, and then think you'll go away and learn it, because you won't. My interview, one of the questions I got was about MDMs.
I work with that. That helped me.
But I had no idea what MDMs were at the time of the interview.
I didn't know as well when I started working. Then they explained me.
Yeah.
So mobile device manager.
So they're mobile device managers. It's software your employer can install on your phone so you can access corporate devices, and they can also remotely wipe that corporate information from your device.
In certain occasions, you can also do more than like lock and unlock people off the phone.
Yeah, you can track phones, lock them, change passwords, wipe them.
Think of it as a C2 for phones if you want.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. But at the time of my interview, I didn't know. I had no clue what they were. I just went, yeah, no, don't know. It's easier to say you don't know, and it's simpler, even though it's a bit terrifying. It's a bit like Rebecca's. She changed direction 2 weeks into a 3-week, 2 week into a 3-week sprint. That must have been terrifying. I've worked in a few sprint cycles. If you find you're going wrong at the end of week 2, I mean, she's right, you have to change, right? You have to change direction as soon as you know you're wrong. But you've only got 1 week, and then you've got to present. And whatever you've done in that 1 week, you just got to hope that A, it's enough, and B, your management will understand why you went wrong. And it's relatively easy in cyber to go wrong. Going wrong is common. Just don't overthink it, correct it, don't overthink it.
In that case, would you say it would be very matching? Would you say that people above Rebecca, would it be very good for them to have some sort of technical knowledge so they understand the challenges that someone below them goes through? Because it tends to be that the lower you are in the food chain, the more technical you are, or the less business stuff you do.
Depends what level you're reporting to. Obviously, the higher up you go, the less they're going to have a technical background. But that's where targeting your language comes in. It's no good, as I was saying earlier, it's no good telling them all the intricate details of the encryption routine and the mathematics behind it if they don't care about it, because they don't understand it and they don't want to spend the time to understand it. But if you can tell them you're going to be fined £20 million if you don't fix it, and it's only going to cost you $2 million to change it, what would you do? Spend the $2 million or risk the 20? I'd spend the 2. It's, you know, but if you're talking to someone who does understand the technical details, yeah, give it to him. You know, if it's like my line manager, person immediately above me, he understands technical details. I will quite happily tell him the technical details. Anyone else? Anything? Oh, go on.
In terms of like, what would you say for like getting into like risk management in like a role from undergraduate? Would you say that's more difficult than going from a master's? Is it like sort of a pathway for that?
No, you can. We've got plenty of people on our risk team that have joined the graduate scheme that did like a psychology degree, for example, or one member of my team who joined the graduate scheme, she's now a full-time member, did astronomy. It's not hard, but I would probably look towards being some sort of assessor or audit first, because that way you see the gaps, you see the gaps that lead to the risks first, and then you see how other people treat them. You can decide what you want to do and whether you think that's something that you would like. I find risk management a little stressful, to be honest, because it's a lot of chasing people. It's a lot of asking people, have you done it yet? 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 Oh, I've asked you 5 times. Now I'm going to ask your manager, have you done it? And my manager's going to be copied in. And then if I still don't get any response, it goes up another level. And then nuclear bombs start going off.
Yeah, how do you find that switching around such a big corporation as Vodafone must be a little annoying?
A lot of the problem with why we sometimes don't get responses is people are too busy on their day jobs. The architects are too busy building the next feature release of whatever product they're working on, or they're building the next latest and greatest product. They are not focusing on the security or the risks of what they've just finished with. They finished with it, they delivered it, they've moved on, you know. Most of them work in some sort of agile or semi-agile method. We do have DevOps, DevSecOps established in most of the teams in Vodafone. So if they're coming to the release of the next version or the release of the next big thing, they're focused on that. I've got to cut through that noise and say to them that, like, no, you actually have to do this. It's difficult, it's hard, but it can take several attempts. You get there eventually. But you do have to escalate from time to time. There's no way of avoiding it. That's why I say probably best doing some sort of audit or assurance work first, so you can see what the risk managers go through, then decide if you want to be one.
You work with a lot of companies, right? Third parties.
So?
You guys work with a lot of third parties, right? You are a big corporation. I imagine you have.
Yeah, we work with a lot of vendors. We work with a lot of, so a lot of our pen tests we are building our own pen test capabilities, and we do have them, but it's, you know, limited amount, because we have a lot of like Spike Reply, NCC, you must have heard of those. We use their services, and it's good as well because external people like that don't have the same baggage as internal people. We also work with like Juniper, Cisco, VMware, Microsoft. I mean, all these have been publicly announced. I'm not telling you anything that you can't find anywhere. But yeah, we have lots of little vendors. I don't know the names of everyone because it's just thousands.
Do you find that the bigger the corporation is, the more they start to forget about some of the security, like some of the products?
For the third parties,
Or even Vodafone, do you feel like some of the products are left out? Obviously, that's a tricky question for you, but
For third parties, it's easier because I can't reach out to a third party directly. I will reach out to the relationship manager for Cisco, who is a Vodafone employee, and I'll say, I would like you to ask Cisco ABC. And they'll go away and ask Cisco ABC if they've got the relationship to ask it, right? Cisco will respond with that, and it'll be Cisco's relationship manager with Vodafone who responds, and they'll go away and ask in Cisco if they need anything. I will just have to wait for a response. Now, sometimes that can take 3 or 4 weeks, but I mean, that's just the difficulty of inter-business communication. You never know who's on leave in Cisco. Cisco never know who's on leave in Vodafone. It might be the critical person who has that answer. In Vodafone itself, yeah, I mean, sometimes we can find that it's harder to get responses from some teams than others. It is what it is. Usually those teams are the more pressed, busier teams. If any of you are thinking of going into being architecture teams or development teams, I hope you can handle stress really well, because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, yeah, we're coming to time now, so I hope it's been informative. I know I've rambled a little, but I hope I've answered your questions. I am what I am. I hope it was useful.